So I'll tell you, for the longest time, I got Raising Arizona and Leaving Las Vegas mixed up. Just kind of, they blended together. I'd never seen either, but they have such similar names. Something in you know, a place in the Southwest, you know. Makes
also
sense.
Nick Cage.
Oh, is he in Leaving Las Vegas? I don't know anything about Leaving Las Vegas.
I thought you were. I thought
that's what he was making it note, but it's a geographical thing for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were fucking with me the other day. Because, like, man, I gotta watch Leaving Las Vegas. I'm like,
I was 100% fucking with you, but yeah, it's still a thing.
Okay. Sometimes I just don't know. You just got me. I don't want to be rude or nothing.
Look, it doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Beards and Brews. We're doing Raising Arizona. It's a good movie.
From the Coen brothers, another Coen brothers flick.
Nothing like them Arizona raisins. Get you going.
Do they have? I guess they do. They have grapes.
Right.
So they gotta have raisins.
Look, all I know is this is by far above and beyond anything else Nicolas Cage has ever released. This is his masterpiece. If you only have to watch one movie with Nick Cage, this is it for me.
I mean, he has this really... Nick Cage has this, like, really sharpened talent to play white trash.
It's so fucking good. He is so eloquent that it's ridiculous.
No, actually, on like page, I don't know, 8 of my notes, I actually write down, oh, I get why people like Nick Cage now. Because, like, he's fucking charming in this role.
He's so hilarious.
Nick Cage is kind of like one of those guys, like, sorry for going back to Keanu Reeves, just one of those guys that people love, and I don't know why, but I kind of get it now.
Keanu Reeves is like a humanitarian, all-around nice guy, whereas Nick Cage is just a hot mess, but damn is he charming.
What are you doing over there, Nick Cage? Cocaine and stealing the Declaration of Independence while pretending to be Elvis. Just...
Yeah.
By the way, this is 1987. He was, I believe, actually credited as Nicholas Coppola in this.
Yeah, that's before he changed his stage name. He tried his best to get away. He is a Coppola, like Francis Ford Coppola. I think he's like his grandson or grandnephew, something like that.
He's
trying to make his own name.
So this movie is told mostly through cutaway exposition bits, and to me these are all very, very good. They're extremely well written. The foul language is not even there.
Yeah, for a movie about, well, basically kidnapping, it's a very family-friendly movie.
Yeah, but they still get away with so many, like, background adult themes and crazy things, but you're just swept away in the charm of these eloquent rejects. Like, they're all just these people who are ridiculously broken in some manner, but they all present themselves as somewhat extremely well educated and
it's
calm.
Like
kinda, yeah.
It's like they're like trailer trash with morals,
or trailer trash that somehow has a really big vocabulary.
That's it. Yeah, like, you know, Daddy used to punish us by making us go to the corner and read the thesaurus.
Yeah.
My 7th grade class was entirely crossword puzzles. But yeah, pretty much the main character, H.I. McDonough, I guess he goes by Hi, I don't know. Yeah. Played by Nicolas Cage. He's, he's in prison. He gets paroled. He does something stupid, goes back to prison, gets paroled again. You know, one of those guys.
He's one of those guys that is completely aware of just who he is, but, you know, he just has to go through the motions. Like, when he was at his parole hearing, he's like, "Are you telling us what we want to hear?" It's like, "No, sir." It's like, "Well, we want you to tell the truth." Then, "Yes, sir, I was telling you what you want to hear." And they're just like, this guy, just get out of here.
Go on, you little scamp. Get it. Get back out there and work.
I understand now, thanks to you. Okay, then.
It's almost like over-calculated.
And I love that this is also how they set up the main plot and love interest of this. Every time he goes into jail, he has to get his mugshot, and there's Edwina, Ed. He's, always there waiting on him. Turn to the left. And he would always turn and do some nonsense. But did you guys catch the little bit in the back with the guy who's always like, "Don't forget the phone call, Ed"? Just always with forget the add-ons. Yeah, I like that. Even during the wedding, he's like, "Don't forget the bouquet, Ed." Just,
At this point he knew everybody. Like when he came in to finally like propose to her, like the guy gets his picture taken. He's like, "Hey, hi,
howdy, Kurt."
Yeah.
but yeah, Edwina's man has left her, and Hi has been somewhat wooing her in and out of jail.
Every 8 to 12 months.
Right.
Oh,
I feel like they've just been like very passively flirting over the course of like, I don't know, several years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things that just like sit on the back burner, but all of a sudden the house is on fire.
And I gotta say, I get it. Ed is adorable. Like a Sally Field in her prime thing going on here. I like it. Get at me.
I want to call it Southern Belle.
I don't know why that should, like, tickled me. But he's got a lot of really good lines in the prison bit, like especially whenever he comes in to do his like real true wooing. That's one of my favorite bits when Ed is crying. And he comes in and he's like, "Well, what's the matter, Ed? My fiance done left me." And then he goes, "Is my fiance?" And he goes into this big spiel about, tell him to come on down here to Maricopa County Maximum Security, whatever, correctional facility for men, State Farm Road, Tampa, Arizona. I'll be waiting. Just like, what the fuck is this dude doing?
Yeah,
but
he's being taken away.
Yeah, it's so fucking good. They do a fingerprint proposal, and the future's only 8 to 14 months away. The lines they have here are so fucking good.
It very much reminds me of Old Brother, Where Art Thou? Like, they've come a long way. They from 1987 to 2001 or so. Like, they came a long way, but it still has that like Coen Brothers. I know it's Southwest, but it feels more like the Deep South kind of feel.
Yeah, you and I had discussed this a little bit. How this is definitely, it feels like a Coen Brothers movie, but it's not quite refined. Like, this is definitely just like them just like getting on their horse for the first time.
Yeah, they haven't quite sanded down everything yet. The corners aren't quite round yet.
I think
it's definitely Coen Brothers.
Now, this isn't like a detractor or anything, but this movie definitely feels like a fan-made Coen Brothers like tribute movie, because it's like almost there. It's still good, but it's not as like great as their later films. It's still a little rough around the edges, like you said.
So Hi and Ed get together. They get hitched, I guess. I suppose they get hitched,
and they immediately start pounding it out.
They do start pounding it out because Ed feels like having a critter is the next logical step. I thought she was talking about a dog, but evidently Baby is also a critter.
This shit was so good. With the whole, we're trying on this day, and then on the days that don't end with why, we're trying too. That was a lot of fun. And then whenever she has to pull up in the driveway with the sirens on, and she's already just soaking wet-faced, and cocked back, mouth agape, can't choke the words out, and he's like, "What's the matter, baby?" And she's like, "Ha! I'm burned!"
Can we just talk about her ugly cry and how fucking great it is?
Yes.
I know you and I, Brady, we talk about it from time to time, how she goes from 0 to 100 immediately, and she is disgusting.
But it's so fucking perfect for the movie, because she has this grimace that she can make too that's fucking perfect, because it's just grimace to ugly cry, immediate. I love you so much!
God, so good.
And you still have these lines that, for whatever reason, still remind me of Old Brother, Where Art Thou? Like, my seed could find no purchase.
Now, speaking of the Old Brother, Where Art Thou? Whenever his two buddies break out of prison, the first thing they do is they style their hair with some pomade.
I noticed that. What is with the Coen Brothers and this pomade?
I had not a clue. It's kind of like Quentin Tarantino and those Apple cigarettes or whatever.
Or Quentin Tarantino and feet.
No.
Fuck! Why does it have to keep coming back? Don't we have like other inside shows instead of gross ass Quentin Tarantino and his big ass head?
Hey Travolta, get at us with this HJ.
No.
Like, we missed that train.
Choo choo. 1, 2, 3, Palin.
Oh no. Choo choo. But the lines in here are so fucking good, especially whenever they're trying to have the kid, they can't have the kid, things start falling apart. the salad days are over, and he's feeling this pressure. He goes, I even caught myself driving by convenience stores that weren't on the way home. Just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what was the name of the convenience store that he always robbed or whatever? Like Jolly something maybe?
No, it was like Corner Mart or Shop Mart. Something real generic.
Yeah, like S-Mart or something.
But he robbed the same fucking one every time.
Yeah.
It's like fucking early Kyler and Squidbillies, just like goes in with a gun. All right, Early. I'm not Early.
We still on for Tuesday night? Well, of course, Earl. And he's like, all right, then. Walks out the door.
If there's one thing about the Coen brothers, they can write some fucking dialogue.
I think they just write people first and just situations later. Because I feel like they just they almost ad-lib, like, whose line is it anyway? Like, oh, time, place, what are they doing? And then they just write what they're saying.
It works. It's a lot of fun. And, I mean, growing up, I've watched this movie a fucking million times. And the music for it's always stuck with me. So many of the lines have stuck with me because it's like exposition dump that is eloquent, so you listen to it. Because it's always read so calmly. Oh, it's almost like a David Attenborough effect. You kind of want to listen.
Planet Earth, just with hillbillies.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it goes from like this beautiful exposition into just madness. And you're like, oh, okay.
You might agree with me. You've seen it a bunch of times. So watching this, there's even a reference to it, how Nick Cage's character has the Roadrunner tattoo on his forearm. So a good portion of this movie reminded me of like a really classic Looney Tunes setup. Like when later on Nick Cage goes for the baby or whatever, like that whole thing when chaos starts to ensue, it's like a cartoon.
Wait, is that the Roadrunner?
On their arms?
I wrote down Woody Woodpecker.
I could have sworn it was the Roadrunner.
You're probably right. I don't know.
No, I think Chandler's right. I think it's I think it's fucking Woody Woodpecker. But either way, all of those cartoons were that same thing. They were like, slapstick comedy.
Yeah. Even like we'll discuss it later on, he's being chased and he has like that panty on his head.
Oh my god.
And the car's being driven at him and he like springs up in front of the camera just like whoop, and his little panty or whatever flops over like it's I don't know.
At any moment he just look at the camera, go meet, and take off.
Yeah.
So just to catch the audience up, pretty much Ed is barren. We've covered that.
That's not good. It's tight, so it's just like,
sorry for driving that home, but we get news come across the news line, the news, that the Arizona Quints have been born. Who are the Arizona Quints?
Why, they are the children of Nathan, Arizona, and everybody knows him.
Yeah, he's got that unpainted Arizona chain of places where he can buy furniture. That's unpainted.
Well, he and his wife have recently, after I guess years of trying, finally got lucky, finally had a child, not just one child, but fucking 5 of them.
Oh man.
There was Harry, Barry, Gary, Larry,
yeah, the
Nathan
Jr.
Jr.
That's 5, you got him.
Yeah.
That's like Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde.
That's exactly what I have written down, actually. Yeah, no joke.
Oh, the ghosties.
That's a Pac-Man reference for you.
But all of that takes place before the movie even technically starts. Now we're greeted with the fucking title screen.
The prologue in this movie does take a while. Like, it was like 10 minutes in before we actually get the title crawl.
Yeah. And we're immediately used to that yodeling.
No, it's almost like that country song from Mars Attacks.
Yes, but more fun.
More fun than that.
Got that wacky banjo in there.
Yeah, it's very upbeat. Kind of makes you like, yee, happy.
And just like a lot of things in this movie, that song is just like hard cut in there. Like as soon as chaos ensues, just you know.
Yeah, but it's fucking perfect. I love it. They really knocked it out of the park with this, in my opinion. So, right after the title crawl, there we get to see H.I. fucking tiptoeing upstairs, grabbing up different babies, but he can't choose which one, and they start running amok.
Yeah, it just turns into like this weird, like, almost game or whatever. Like, these babies clearly don't have any means to get too far away from the crib, but suddenly they're just, like, everywhere.
Yeah, it's absolutely a game of collect all the babies. And once you've collected, 2 or 3 of the babies, one of the babies just gets so far away that you're like, fuck, let's just leave that one.
How do I hold all these babies?
I got all these babies in only 2 hands.
Yeah, like he one escapes under the crib, so he crawls under it, which this whole thing reminds me of Looney Tunes. And as he's doing that, one falls out of the crib onto him.
Oh, that was missing was like a cymbal crash.
Yeah.
And the parents are downstairs like, oh, what was that thump?
Them
Oh, must be nothing.
The place up there, that's natural.
I like how it goes from like, huh, what's that noise, to them just staring at the ceiling, wonder what the fuck's going on.
Needless to say, when they enter the room, all the babies are sitting there quietly to the tick-tock of a grandfather clock.
Hi goes back to to Ed. He's like, I'm sorry, honey, it just didn't work out.
You get back in there and you get me a baby.
You go back, get me a baby.
And she goes as far as like rolling up the window and everything. It's like, okay.
Yeah, she said her piece and counted to 3.
Oh yeah, I was going. Dang it, it's good. Yeah.
So he shuttles back up that ladder, grabs Nathan Jr., I think, and the instruction booklet written by Dr. Spock.
The instructions.
And that's a really good returning gag. Like every time the baby changes hands, like the little instruction manual has to come with it just in case.
Everybody taking the baby has no clue what to do with the baby.
They're just
They
like,
got
yep,
that Dr.
that'll work.
Spock book. Thank God.
Grab the book. So he comes back out, and I love that he's sitting there with the baby, and he hands it to Ed, and she's looking at it. He goes, well, or she goes, which one is it? And he goes, I don't know. I think it's Nathan Jr. I got the best one.
Yeah, like he just like felt up a bunch of avocados at the grocery store and brought home what he thought was the best one.
Yeah, and then like we discussed, that ugly cry, I love him so much, just crying.
Yeah, it just goes crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, despite his criminal past and Ed being an actual police officer, I think Hi might actually be the more mentally well one of the two.
For real.
I mean, Ed, you could see it in her eyes. She's totally just like on the far side of the moon at the moment, especially when it comes to the kid.
Yeah, so they take Nathan Jr. back home, and
They celebrate, then they go to sleep.
well,
Yeah,
first
have
they
like
want
a
to
little-
make sure that he knows no more than 2 hours of TV a day, and it's got to be either educational or football.
I forgot what he said after that, but it had like a really good comment. He's like, you don't want to ruin the finer things in life or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, I completely forgot a scene, and I don't want to forget this. So after, right before they bring the baby into the actual house, she tells Hi to go clean it up. He goes running into the bedroom, starts knocking everything around, takes his nudie mags, takes a look at it, throws it under the mattress, walks out of the room, has to storm back in the room, begrudgingly open it again, take a big long look, and be like, oh, like it pained him so much to close it up and shove it under the bed.
Has like this last little bit of almost single civility.
You guys,
That's all he had.
why is Hi my stepdad? So the next thing we know, we have Dan Connor again.
Gale and Ebel.
Yeah, we should
whatever
point
their
out,
names
like,
are.
we should point out like these are guys that Hi had just hung out in prison with, and they're good buds. They kind of like, well, they've been in prison on and off for like who knows how long.
We're introduced to their sense of humor also super early on whenever, they're in therapy, and the guy's like, well, y'all need to stop robbing places. And they look at each other and goes, well, work's what's kept us happy.
It's just their characters are just like basically Dumb and Dumber though. It's kind of crazy. Like John Goodman. I don't even. What's his real like? Whatever. He's John Goodman. Yeah, he's just like the loud but smart one, and the other one's kind of like they're just like subtle but like
Just
John-
the such dumb one. There's
John
a loud.
Goodman's got some badass chops in this, though.
Yeah, he does. Looking like Meatloaf in Rocky Horror.
oh god. Anything but
Hell.
But at this point, we see, there's a big rainstorm coming through the Arizona desert, I guess, because that happens frequently. And Dan Connor is coming out of this big pit of mud.
They are being
And I'm like,
birthed by the
at this
earth
point-
herself.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why is he just coming out of this mud yelling? What is
Yeah.
going on?
in the middle of that storm, Meatloaf Dufresne popped out of the earth.
He sure as fuck didn't come out clean though. And I love that he
no.
reaches back in the hole and picks out Ebel with one arm by the leg, screaming.
They're just screaming, just like A-H-H-H-H-H-H, just like yelling at the moon.
Yeah, they do
Barking
that again a little bit later too, where they're just like no reason. I mean, there's a reason, but just yelling for like 5 minutes at a time, just with no stop.
I
Just
mean,
yelling to yell.
it tickled me, especially later on, because John Goodman was just like punching the roof of the car, all pissed off at himself.
It's so good.
They should put that guy in a Blues Brothers movie.
Oh.
Radio edit.
Yeah.
So once they get out and do the things that they got to do, first of all, like pomade their hair, they're still fucking covered in mud. They go to visit their good old friend Hi.
I was surprised that number one, they knew where High was, but hey, whatever.
There's a lot of convenience in this movie if you think about it, but I really don't want to, because this movie's a really good time.
Oh yeah, you've got to really let it be like, why? Cause plot, okay.
Yeah, just like
That's a
don't
good
worry
point.
about it. Yeah, so, like just let Nick Cage, just let him be wacky. He's trying.
So how'd they get there so quick? Hey, I'm gonna need you to get off my back about that. All right, consider me all the way off that thing.
There you go.
So Hi's good friends just got out of the joint. Oh, they were released? No, they released themselves on our own recognizance.
Yeah. Well, at least they're honest.
Right.
Now, from the get-go, Ed does not like these two, and they have some really fucking funny exchanges.
Well, I don't blame her. Getting all of that mud right on that new sofa?
And apparently they had nicked some kind of like sewer system or whatever on their way out, so they just smelled like S-H-I-T-E.
Next, we get introduced to the big, I guess, the antagonist of this film, maybe?
Is he? I don't know. He might be. Ghost Rider? You talking about Ghost
Yeah.
Rider?
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean Mad Max? They're both
So
great.
that is the warthog from hell?
Yeah.
Don't you mean the guy that Ace Ventura bamboozled with his package at the beginning of that movie?
Like, for the first half of my notes, I refer to him as Ghost Rider, and then for the second half, I refer to him as the Road Warrior, so he's one of the two.
I mean,
he's
I'll
just
lean
a-
towards Ghost Rider more. He does leave a trail of fire.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I had to rewatch. I was like, wait, what? Are you fucking serious? Did this like predict the future or some shit?
It's foreshadowing!
He
I
was
understand.
particularly hard on the little things. He throws a grenade at the bunny.
Takes out his sawed-off shotgun, blows away like a little lizard.
Just so mean.
Either way, this is, strictly speaking, the most ambitious crossover event of all time.
And it all came down in Arizona town.
Speaking of Arizona, Florence, Arizona is just now finding out that her baby, Nathan, Arizona, I think, is gone.
Correct.
What happened to her? Abducted by aliens or something along those lines? Who knows?
Don't
He
print
was-
that.
Don't print that.
Yeah,
Ah,
he got all heated about it. He's like, don't print that. That'll make the missus whatever.
That'll make her sad. Just say he was kidnapped by some fucking child rapists or something. That'll do it.
goodness gracious.
I mean, that's what they had to do for the Lindbergh baby, so whatever. I guess that joke was like 90 years too late.
So yeah, they find out that the baby's missing, and they drop a $25,000 reward.
Mm-hmm. And they got everybody on it. They got the local police, they got the state police, they even got the federal BI.
Federal BI. I
And
think I
glad
hate
it's not just the local
that.
BI.
That's what the guy said. He knows what he's talking about. Mr. Arizona himself.
Ugh.
Damn, can I have the last name Arizona? Or at least some other state?
It's pretty good, Chandler, Colorado.
He didn't really have it, sir. He had to change it from Nathan Huff Hines, because who wants to buy furniture from a fucking place called Unpainted Huff Hines?
I sure don't.
Sounds like
I mean, I don't want to buy furniture from a place called Unpainted Arizona either, but
$25,000 reward, and we cut to them in the morning. And this is that exchange I was talking about that just really tickled me. You
God, I
got
hope it's what I think it is.
do tell.
What I wrote down and just fucking loved was the exchange between the two guys and Ed. It's like, why ain't you breastfeeding? If you don't breastfeed him, he'll hate you for life. That's how he ended up in prison.
At least that's what Doc tells us. And then whenever he says that, he just slings cereal over his shoulder because they're just so sloppy.
Just quickly, John Goodman's like, how come you're not breastfeeding? You look more than qualified. And just that look she gives them, just like, you fuckers.
Yeah, she puts on this real spiteful accent when she talks to him, too. It's really good. She doesn't talk to anyone else in the film that way. But anytime she addresses them, it's always like through gritted teeth.
Gritted teeth.
Like Han has to explain to him that they need to leave for a little bit because he has company coming over, and she has to cut in through her gritted teeth. We have some decent folk over, and it's just like Jesus Christ, just so bitter.
Well, I mean, they totally came out of nowhere. They're wanted by the police. She is the police. They have a baby they stole, so they're basically a huge wrench in their plans at the moment.
So they do, in fact, make themselves scarce, and the friends come over, and we're introduced to the friends by the father, whose name I forgot to write down.
It's fucking Clyde or something like that. It starts with a C. It don't matter.
Man, I wanted to remember it for the cast, but it escaped my mind. Because Nick Cage has some great lines where he just like over-enunciates his name later on.
Oh, yeah, he does.
He gets all pissed.
So he's like, hey, we're going to come on in. He's like, all right, we'll bring the kids. And like, hey, kids, get away from the car. And they turn around, and he's got like 7 fucking kids beating the shit out.
Dude, yeah, I laughed out loud at that. It was great. It was such like almost like Simpsons or Family Guy cutaway. He's like, get away from the car. Just like immediately beat the shit out of it.
Yeah, watching this scene, man, goddamn, children are the worst thing on the planet. Please, someone, take my balls. Please. Anybody? What? They're still here.
I'm thinking that to the tune of Somebody to Love by Queen.
It's Glenn. Fucking Glenn.
I don't know why I thought it started with a C. C is kind of like a G, except with a little piece on it.
Yeah, because then we're treated by, the whole mother spiel, where she's like, you gotta give him his dip tat, and they're all freaking about the shots.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, we gotta get that. Hi, when are we gonna do that? He's just like, mustard on my bread.
Fucking, that's one of my notes, mustard sandwiches. And Amber goes, why is there so much mustard?
Then you got to get that the life insurance. What if you get runned over?
Yeah, what if you die? What if you? And he's just like, all right, honey, whatever you say, we'll take him Tuesday. Just
yeah, he's so beat down.
He's just like, I never thought of all this. Man, being a parent is exhausting.
It's been like one day.
Not even. It's been like probably 12 hours.
Done. He's like, have you ever felt this overbearing weight pushing down on you when him and Glenn are out taking that talk?
Yeah.
He's like talking about getting suffocated just because he has a kid literally for a day.
But Glenn's like, yeah, I understand, but you know how we get the pressure off? You know what? My wife thinks you're cute. I think. And Nick Cage is just like, wow, well, thank you. Wait a minute.
He's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
It's like almost if Tommy Wiseau could act.
Almost, yeah.
He's like, we're swingers.
Talking about wife swapping.
Glenn, you stay away from my wife. And he's like, tries to laugh it off. He's like, Glenn, stay away from my wife.
Punched right in the face.
From a mile away, too.
He's got that long reach. He's lanky.
His like whole body's like at an angle, just like,
Fucking, they get inside and, they all take off and all this shit, and Ed's pissed, and she goes, well, why would you hit him? He was provoking me.
I like how, like, that's a moment where he could absolutely explain what happened, and she would be like, oh, yeah, that's weird. Whatever. Yeah. But he doesn't, but he just swallows it because he's like, pride, this is my new life. I'm a good husband.
I'm a gentleman.
Yeah.
He was provoking me. It's not that he was saying he wanted to have sex with you in front of me.
And you know what he does? He bottles all that in and takes it out in the convenience store.
He does. He snaps.
That same convenience store.
Fucking starts just the hilarious run. This is so fucking good. It just starts with him getting out, He looks at her dead in the eyes. Be out directly. Walks inside. I'll be taking these here Huggies and whatever cash you got in that there register.
That some bitch.
He's got the
That
fucking...
some bitch.
And he's twirling the gun. Just acting up.
And then
she's just in the
chaos
car,
ensues.
boiling over. That
You
some
might wanna-
bitch.
Hurry up, cause me and the wife was in this Dutch.
Like, after she has already, like, walked out of the car, screamed at him through the window.
Yeah, and he's like, honey. Just...
In the meantime, the guy had pressed, like, the silent alarm, so as this is going on, the cops are already on the way. As she scurries off or whatever, leaving him with a panty on his head and Huggies under his arm, a 5-0 roll up and everything and start just blasting away for no fucking reason.
And the kid inside...
Anyway, I started blasting.
That's exactly what happens. Just shooting at him, shooting at the Huggies.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
even
big
the-
running gun.
Yeah, even the cashier just, like, pulls out a big-ass 45 and starts fucking going to town.
Just that Magnum unleashing, and then the fucking soundtrack kicks in. The it's so fucking good, and he's taking off down the street, and they shoot the Huggies out of his hand.
Yeah, there's, like, the Huggies have, like, a character arc in this movie. It's ridiculous.
They had a sponsorship, is what they had.
100.
Oh, yeah, they did. Like, he drops the Huggies, he scurries down the road, he winds up running through some person's, like, house or whatever.
You gotta jump in the yard where it gets the dogs.
Fucking
Yeah,
everywhere they go, another dog gets added to the pile. These
Yeah.
dogs just fucking show up.
But I forgot that he tried to hijack that guy's truck first.
Yeah, he gets hit by the truck, and then he's like, hey, you gonna give me a ride? He's like, son, you got a panty on your head.
Yeah. Just straight up delivery, like, just drive.
Like, oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for telling me, boss.
Dude has to run to catch up and jump in. And at this point, we're getting chased by the cops, a bunch of dogs, the fucking cashier, and then all this is going on, and they run out of the road because they're in a cul-de-sac, and he has to hit the brakes, and he gets launched out the window of this fucking truck, and he stands up in the front lawn, and he's like, thank you, whispering through the pain.
He's a gentleman.
But seriously, safety first, kids. Buckle up.
He's bona fide.
We get more chase whenever mommy says we're gonna go back and get him, and then you get some cute shit of Ed driving through back alleys and smashing through fences while the baby pulls the hoodie down over its face, which is 10 out of 10.
He's a cutie. Like, he and the cops follow him through, like, the house. They go through the backyard, almost like Ferris Bueller style or whatever. And he finally makes it to the other end of the property, and he jumps down. And he kind of, like, recoups with his wife and stuff. And they're in this, like, heated argument moment, right? Where he obviously can't win. And the whole time he's, like, giving her directions not to go home. It's just so he can scoop up the fucking Huggies back off the pavement.
Back around for the Huggies. It's brilliant.
Gotta focus on what's important. And what's important is having a place for that baby to shit.
Look, if you had a baby, you don't understand. You gotta have something to wrap that shit up in and get rid of it. Baby poop is fucking foul.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
And we find that out later on when the good old boys get pooped on as they're running away with him.
There's a movie with James Franco and the guy who plays the other fella, not Gale, but the other guy, Ebel. Yeah, so I was like, that guy's familiar. I think I know who that is. He's in a movie with James Franco where he's like a bad guy, and he drives through a drive-thru and he says, I want a bacon cheeseburger and a blowjob to James Franco.
All right.
That's the only thing I cared about in that movie, but I haven't watched Raising Arizona since I had seen that, and I went, holy shit, that's bacon cheeseburger and a blowjob guy. I know it's an odd,
That's his moniker from now on.
but that's who he is to me. But yeah, they get back to the house, and pretty much Ed lays down the law that the two fellas, they got to get the heck out. H.I. has been influenced by their evil, dirty ways.
I like how the whole time, like, as she's berating them, they have, like, a giant table worth of their food just chowing down without even asking.
There are beer cans everywhere.
Yeah,
But
bud after bud.
they are like the most polite criminals ever. Like the whole time she's berating, he's like, yes, ma'am. Well, if we were a bad influence, we hate that we were. It's not our intentions.
Yeah, I mean, they were raised right. They just didn't, breastfeed or anything.
That's what it was.
So, with all this talk about beer cans strewn about, you guys want to talk about something we missed last week?
Don't tell them. It's a secret. BillyWitchDoctor.com.
One convenient locations. I don't know where that came from even, but yeah, last week, I don't know, we got caught up in the Fanatic so much that we just completely skipped over. I was drinking Oskar Blues Can-O-Bliss Citrus IPA, which is fucking phenomenal. I don't want to dive too deep into that. I don't remember it that well. Super juicy. It was fantastic. Go drink it. Can-O-Bliss Citrus IPA by Oskar Blues. Can't recommend it enough. This week I've got...
It's like an orange peel.
Yeah, orange peel. Something along those lines. Got something a little bit different this week. I got... Shit.
You got shit?
This week I've got Sierra Nevada's Coffee Stout, which Sierra Nevada I feel like is more well known for their pale ales, IPAs, things of that sort. Let's see how this Coffee Stout's going to be. This is the first time I've tried this, actually.
Ooh, we're front row seats, fellas.
Yeah. Ooh, you know what this tastes like?
Coffee.
Soy sauce, actually.
Oh.
Turns out you have a bottle of Pico Man over there.
Shit, I opened the wrong bottle.
Today I'll be drinking the Greek Trap Bocce's.
Ooh. Sick.
You can definitely tell coffee is at the forefront of this beer. It's definitely what they're aiming for. Good, deep, roasted malt flavor. A little bit too on the nose with the coffee, though. A little bit too much coffee, even.
They're just trying to please baristas.
I mean, it's not bad. And I do love coffee. You guys know this. I fucking love coffee. I start every day of my life with a cup of coffee. But for beer, this might be a little bit too much coffee. It's not... it doesn't have that high of alcohol content. I don't know what this actually is, but I know it's not super high. 6.2% ABV. I don't know. I would kind of prefer like a Founder's Breakfast Stout if you're going to go that full-on coffee.
Rather have like a cup of coffee or a beer and not this?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Like either or, not both?
Honestly, I just like in the back of my palate, just right at the back, I keep getting these soy sauce notes and I can't get it out of my fucking head.
I know what you're talking about. I've done that with different things. Not really so much this beer, but I know exactly what you're talking about. You're like, oh, this is really good. But now it tastes like this, and I don't like that so much.
Man, now I just want to fucking go get a roll of sushi or something.
Ooh. Stand by, everybody. We're about to get some munch.
Gas station sushi.
I mean, all I'm saying is if it's Sheetz gas station sushi, I'd try it.
So I'm gonna have to like put up a thing next week about this week's episode's been postponed due to food poisoning.
Please stand by. So the boys don't like that, High ain't wearing the pants in this here relationship. And they tell him the sun don't rise and set on the corner grocery store. And that they're going to rob the Hayseed Bank for more cash than there are flies at a barbecue.
Which is a couple.
And that's our setup for the sad letter exposition of Nicolas Cage telling his wife that he's a no-good beatnik and that they'd be better off without him.
Yeah, I really feel like this is the turning point of the movie. You got Nick Cage just sitting here writing this heartfelt letter to Ed saying, he doesn't have the I don't know what that word says. Writing this heartfelt letter that says that he doesn't have the character to raise a family with the responsibility of an adult. It's kind of sad, but this is absolutely the turning point in the movie.
Well, he thinks he's like no good, but in reality, he's been through this entire movie thus far, like the 40 hours he's had the baby, he's done nothing but be a father figure without even him knowing it.
So then we get a cut of the biker sitting outside of their trailer, and turns out that he's found the baby. But he returns to Nathan, Arizona, down at Unpainted Lowe's and introduces himself.
Yeah, he's a bounty hunter.
Yeah, he's a guy who finds people, and if they can't pay up, that's okay. Someone else can pay for that person.
Mr. Leonard Smalls, half hound dog.
That's what his friends call him, but he ain't got no friends.
And I love that he's got like as this bounty hunter, he's got these spiels set up to make him sound tough, make him sound good. And Nathan Arizona immediately shuts each one down with some cynical, just fuck you kind of thing.
Yeah, that Southern hospitality.
It's pretty good. And then, he's not there so much to tell him, hey, I want the 25 grand. He's there to negotiate price because he doesn't give a shit whether he gets the kid back. He's like, are you going to pay me more than it's worth on the black market? I thought that was fucking dark.
Yeah, I'm going to find your kid, but are you going to pay me more than a fucking child rapist is going to pay me? Because they'll pay me a lot.
But the guy doesn't even back down. Like, Mr. Unpainted Arizona's like, listen, you know what? You're horse shit. I think you stole my baby. And you know what? I'm calling 911 right now. Fuck you.
And I really like the line, he's like, if you want to find a Dunkin' Donuts, call a cop. Yeah, so the next thing we know, we find out that Glenn figures out from the newspaper or whatnot that the baby in question is actually little Nathan Jr.
And it's going to be little Glenn Jr. because Dot wants something to cuddle. And then he does this spit scene where he's like, huh. It's so fucking good.
I mean, that whole scene when he comes back, just kind of like stick it to Nick Cage or whatever. Like, the dude's got like a neck brace, a little eye patch thing. He's all busted up where he got punched and ran into a tree. Just every singular muscle that Nick Cage moves, he flinches. Like, he just like backs right back up to his like little car or whatever.
Yeah, because he starts almost at the base of the steps.
Yeah.
And then he ends up right in his door to his car and he's like, that's right. You better have that baby ready tomorrow. And there's a Dr. Bill coming. I suggest you pay it.
Just that whole scene is just great. It's like, I don't even want to come in, huh? It's like, I
didn't ask you to.
Yeah, you were not invited.
You weren't invited, Glenn. Just so good.
Glenn.
And because Glenn is a vampire, that stops him from coming in.
That is true.
That's a twist. You didn't know that. That's a twist. Glenn's a vampire. He wants that baby for blood sucking.
Glenn is in fact a Dracula.
Yep.
The Glenn is a vampire.
Alright, so High's friends are in the house whenever Glenn shows up and tells the whole world that this child is actually Nathan Arizona Jr.
Yeah, he's just screaming it. He doesn't care who hears him because he thinks like they're in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And his friends get the right idea. Is it the right idea, I guess? The friends are going to take the baby. I don't know these friends' names. You guys do. It's the two friends that have been staying at the house, ex-cons, whatever.
Gail.
It's
Abel.
Yeah, Gale and Blowjob Guy.
I guess they're not ex-cons. They're still cons, technically. Anyway, they're going to take that baby.
Yep, they're going to take the baby, try to claim the $25,000 reward right after they rob the hayseed bank.
They're just trying to double dip their chip.
Priorities.
Little did they know this little fella, he's a cutie, and he grows on them.
But man, oh man, before they even get out of the house, that fucking trailer fight scene.
Oh yeah, that made no sense whatsoever.
Well, like, Nick Cage is making these insane faces, and so is John Goodman, and they're both these, for the size of the room they're fighting in, large men. And every time they're trying to hit each other, like, somebody will land a hit, and then they can't follow up because their follow-up, either they drag their knuckles across their ceiling or they'll put their arm back and it goes through a piece of drywall. It's just very, as you put earlier, Wile E. Coyote style. It's so much fun.
It's so crazy. Like, they punch a wall, draw back, their elbow goes through a window. Eventually, Nick Cage gets thrown through the wall that leads to the bathroom.
Because that's where the Declaration of Independence is.
Yeah, it is.
But they tie him to a chair and they're like, we're taking this baby. Goodbye. And Nick Cage freaks out, tips himself over, and we're treated to a really cool shot of like what you would see. He's laying on the floor. He sees the door open back up. Boots coming back in, crushing all the little cheese balls and some of the beer cans aside that they, knocked in the floor through the tussle. And he reaches down and he takes the baby book and walks out the door. And that's when Nick loses his shit. He knows it's for real because they took the fucking baby book.
And he just screams. He just screams.
You have that a lot of times in this movie. Just screaming. Screaming for the sake of screaming.
Like, this next part happens pretty quickly. Like, they make off with the baby. Cuts back to Ed, already back at the house. He's being freed from the chair that he was tied to.
Yeah.
And, like, she's, like, beyond pissed. Like, she has that, like, weird woman thing where she's like, way too focused. Like she just sees like ones and zeros at the moment, and Nick Cage is trying to like keep everything like in order. He's like, yeah, let's just go get him.
He's got that shotgun. He's like, let's go get Nathan Jr. Oh.
The next thing I have is they robbed that convenience store of diapers and balloons.
Are they any funny shapes?
Nope, just spherical or something like that.
Unless you think it was funny.
Yeah, there is. Must be round's funny. And he's just like,
give me 2.
Yeah. And by the way,
you gotta drop to the floor and count to 100, and he's like, well, okay then. And he gets down there and he starts counting, and they fucking take off in the car, and they get, X amount of ways away, and they're like, all right, we're gonna split this money 3 ways, and they're like, oh no, we left the baby.
Yeah, how does this kid end up just in the middle of the road?
Well, it was on top of the car, and then they started driving and it fell off. There's actually an audible thump whenever it first takes off, but the baby landing right side up and perfectly safe is, 0%.
It's a magical kid. He does it a couple times, actually.
Yes, he does. I'm gonna need you to get off my back about that. So they come back and they're screaming and they're punching the roof of the car and all that shit, and they retrieve the baby.
Yeah, they're just screaming the whole time, just yelling, just and punching the roof of the car, just probably for like 5 minutes straight.
And it's about this time that, the clerk is standing back up because he knows he ain't got to really count to 100. And
no, he was supposed to count to like 837, and he got to like 716, and he was like, to hell with this. He stands back up and he's like, they're coming. Fuck, I better start counting again.
Because he's like, warm Mississippi.
We better get out here fast. I don't know how far that old fella can count.
And then we get like a real dark moment of Ed talking to High, and she's basically saying, if they get back the baby, if they don't get the baby back, she don't know if she wants to go on living. And if they do get the baby back, she doesn't know if she wants to go on living with High. I was like, shit. Suicide or divorce, man. It's a lose-lose.
It's just the look on Nick Cage's face where he just realizes how fucking serious she is. It's just like, wow. Fuck. Alright. Let's get the kid.
So now, Gail and Ebel are over there at the bank, and they're going to rob it. This is so good. They come in.
It's, oh my god.
It's bank. I love this scene. This scene was
a good scene. I was just like annoyed by it because I was just like, I can see this actually happening. As a robber, I'm just like, alright.
This straight up comes off as like a Family Guy scene.
But it's good. I know it's good. But I'm just like, fuck. Alright.
So they go into this place, and it's crowded with all these farmers getting their checks. Freeze and get down on the ground. Well, which is it?
You want us to freeze, or you want us to get down on the ground? We can't rightly do both.
Oh my god! Everybody in this movie is Delmar.
Oh, nice. Then he's like, "Oh my god, where'd the tellers go?" And he's like, "Back here,
down here, sir."
Gail, they're back there. He's like, "You're supposed to use a code name." He's like, "That is your code name." He's like, "Yeah, that's right. We're using code names." About to begin this robbery in proper.
And the teller finally gets up and starts stashing the cash in their little rucksack. She sneaks one of those little ink explosion things in the bag without them knowing.
It's fucking huge.
I mean, it looked like she had 5 kills already, and that was a predator. So.
So they get their money, they take off, they're like, "We got the baby, we're gonna do this." And guess what? They left that baby again.
The baby ends up in the middle of the road again, fucking somehow.
But this time, the paint bomb goes off. Boom! Turns these guys into 2 blue brothers.
They done blew themselves.
These are both references, I understand.
Oh, Blues Brothers. Hey, that was good.
Report over on the side of the road. Nick Cage comes running up along with Ed, and they got guns, and they open the door. And John Goodman's lines here are so good. He's going, "God damn it, High, ain't we got enough to contend with?"
Yeah.
Fucking Road Warrior comes up and scoops up the kid.
Yeah, he arrives via explosion.
How else?
Yep. Just a fucking grenade goes off, and that weird bow, 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 angelic music starts playing, and Nick Cage is having a another narration exposition done.
Man. Like, I love that moment because Ed's like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "You can see him too."
Like he's all been a part of his, like, a figment of his imagination from here on out.
Yeah.
They're fucking racing to grab the baby, and he's got like his arm all down, like all gnarled, ready to scoop it up as he drives by all fast.
Well, he picks him up and everything. They get into like this little scuffle or whatever. It's just so wacky and just like weird.
Yeah, there's like shotguns and grenades and shit, and then you get Nick Cage coming off like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, hitting him with a board.
Oh! Yeah. And like now he's got like throwing knives or whatever, and he just catches it with the board. It's like, dang, that's cool as shit. He starts like kung fu kicking him. Road Warrior's doing some kung fu kicking.
It's pretty good because Nicolas Cage is so outmatched that once he sees that, hitting him with the board didn't end it, he's like, oh no.
What do I do now?
He just takes his whooping.
He does, and then he's getting like the bear hug of doom.
Okay, this moment here, was this movie trying to allude to something? Because that guy does have the same tattoo as
I don't know.
Was it like his dad or something?
And they have a moment.
Yeah. Like, I thought like when he was...
I thought he was going to say, like, hey, I got the same tattoo. What a coincidence.
When he was I thought he was going to like shore up his arm sleeve and just like, hey, look, Rose.
Because after he tore it off, he was like, I'm sorry. And like he was like, you weren't supposed to see it.
Yeah, he rips one of the pins out of the grenades that's strapped to this guy's chest. Then, grenades do what grenades do.
Last 10 minutes before they explode.
He became a crispy boy.
Yeah. He pretty much became microwave popcorn at that time.
Oh, he went from the Road Warrior to Roadkill.
Ah, that's it. I like that. So, after he explodes and all these bits are falling over the place, which is pretty graphic, it's like a hunk of meat inside of a boot, and then these little bronze baby boots hit the ground, and there's like crying, and I didn't get that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is there more to this? It's like, is there like some kind of like short story somewhere?
Yeah, because
something else cut out.
Were those Nicolas Cage's baby boots?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is that his pops? Come on,
Joel or Ethan, get at us. We need answers.
Yeah, it's been far too long, sirs.
I'm just gonna Google it right after this because I need to know now.
Actually, hang tight.
You think Google can tell us something that Joel and Ethan Coen can't?
All it is just like an argument to where they were possibly either father and son, or they were orphaned brothers. Because early on in the film, it's mentioned that his parents had already died. All right.
So why would two brothers that have been obviously living apart from each other for their entire lives, why would they just, for whatever reason, end up with the same tattoo?
That
tattoo
parents.
Didn't come from birth.
Magic.
It's not fucking Adventures of Pete and Pete where you're just born with a tattoo.
It could have been one of those things to where, their parents had been dead at a young age, and the only thing they really got to share was the Woody Woodpecker show, and it was something that stuck with both of them.
There you go. Or it could just be like the tattoos that JB and Kyle had on their asses in The Pick of Destiny.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a prequel to this.
Just Arizona?
Not in Arizona yet. It's just called the Maricopa Maximum Security Correctional Facility for Men.
Raising Utah?
Anyways, this fella blows up, and they feel like it's time to do the right thing. Return the baby. But they're not very quiet about it, and they get caught. And there's this big heart, wrenching back and forth why they did it, this, that, and the other. Some, more exposition things, a way to tie up loose ends. But there's something that I just wanted to talk about. Nathan comes in there with a gigantic fucking Wyatt Earp style revolver. That whenever he sees the baby is in the crib, he walks over and reaches down with both hands.
Yeah.
In the direction of the child. He's now pointing this fucking loaded weapon at an infant. He then, when later discussing the reward for bringing back the baby, lays the loaded gun in the crib with the child and leaves the child unattended.
Through the whole movie, he didn't seem very broken about losing a kid to begin with, so...
He's got plenty more.
Yeah. He was probably relieved. He was like, 4 is less than 5.
At least that's what they taught me back in Texas.
Because he can, you all stole my baby. I don't really give a shit. Y'all seem like good people. Take the baby. Fuck it. I like y'all.
Yeah. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, just don't split up. Whatever you do, sleep on it.
Yeah, he talks about they're breaking up because they're both selfish and unrealistic. He's like, well, you brought the kid back. You can't be that selfish.
True. I like how he was very, like, harrowing, and then he's like, now, leave the way you came. Like, you fuckers.
Out
He
the
just
window.
turns the light on him and leaves.
Shit.
Get back out through that window, which after all this time we've still left unlocked.
And completely accessible by a ladder that we
Yeah.
never.
Unlike the windows at his workplace, which are completely sealed and climate controlled.
Yeah.
Anywho, so the baby's back. They have a little bit of a moment, and it kind of cuts back to Nicolas Cage and Ed in bed. They're just kind of sleeping it off. And instead of having these like ridiculous Ghost Rider dreams or whatever, he finally has a dream of the future.
Yeah, he gets to see the Arizona home on Christmas, and really seem like some creepy stalker parents with delusions of grandeur.
I mean, it was kind of neat. Like, they love the kid, even though given the situation, definitely need to talk to a therapist.
Oh,
But-
sure.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, what if like we had an impact on his life? As he's getting older, he's playing football, he's got a family of his own. It's it's kind of,
It's endearing.
yeah, and it's endearing. But like I said earlier, the more you think about it, the more it kind of falls apart because I think these people were just crazy.
Yeah,
No, you
because
got all things coming back to right, just like they reverse stole the baby. You got their two friends reverse escaping from prison. Everything's falling back into place.
yeah, the universe is as it should be. But I do enjoy that Nick Cage goes, I don't know. You tell me. Was it all just wishful thinking? And then, it starts up with all that shit again.
So I had vaguely remember seeing this movie in the past, but watching it again, I really like this movie. It's not perfect. It's definitely like they haven't quite grounded or honed their skills yet. There's just buckets or tons of charm in this movie that no matter how many felonies Nick Cage commits, I'm just like, yeah, man, you get it.
This is like the Coen brothers before they had to smooth out their edges to make things a little bit too perfect for like the Oscar audience. Now, these days, everything they put out is fucking Oscar bait, which I love the Coen brothers, but this is, I feel like, a little bit more them at their most authentic. I'll be honest, this was my first time that I've seen this. I fucking love this movie.
So it was like before they got full of themselves.
Yeah, maybe.
See, I'm glad that you enjoyed this, Chandler. I've watched this since I was fucking little. And the soundtrack it drew me in. The zany action always kept me watching. The dialogue for the characters is so well written and so above the norm of what you would expect for these types of things.
Yeah, in this movie, for this kind of movie, the dialogue is so fucking good.
Maybe it's another talent of the Coen brothers. They just know how to pick actors and actresses as well. Because I feel like I can't see anybody else in those characters' shoes.
I can agree with you on that. They do their roles flawlessly.
Yeah, like they are them. There's no in between.
Yeah, until Nick Cage became like a caricature of himself. Anytime anyone said his name, this is how I thought of him. But yeah, I've always loved this fucking movie. I think it's well written. There's tons of people, not tons of people. There's tons of shots for those film buffs out there. Like one of the ones that I mentioned was where he's just laying on the floor and you get to see the feet come in and squishing all the stuff up. It's such a really well put up scene. Like the way that you see it and how the crunch is there. I don't know. There's a lot of sensory to it. I like it.
There's a lot of good cinematography in this movie. I do agree. I noticed that they tried to do. I'm not saying they didn't achieve it, but they were trying a lot of cool stuff, especially like in the little meeting scene between Arizona and Smalls or whatever. Like he's got his legs propped up on the desk and that light pouring through the blinds behind him. I was like, okay, that's simple, but it's super effective. I enjoy that.
My favorite visual shot is when they're actually you've got Smalls, the Road Warrior, whatever we're calling him, the fight between him and Nick Cage. And Nick Cage is crawling under the car, and he starts getting drug out, and you just see...
I feel like that's a mirror, because that exact same shot and setup was used earlier when he was crawling under the baby thing to, catch all of them.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm trying to say it's a good-ass movie.
This is a good-ass movie, honestly. Like, I've seen just about everything else that the Coen brothers have put out, and it's all good, but this is, in my opinion, the most Coen brothers movie that I've seen thus far.
Yeah, I mean, what other film team can get away with calling a movie Hudsucker? These guys. On that note, that was Raising Arizona from 1987. If you have any strong feelings, leave them in the comments below.
Make sure you get out there and you follow us on all of our different social media platforms. We've got that Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe, like, do some other things. So next time we got another one of these things going,
See you in the Thunderdome.
And man, we got through that whole cast without telling a Polak joke.